Greetings, everyone. In this video, I would like to discuss appreciating classical music through Eugene O'Neill's The Iceman Cometh. And the purpose of this discussion is to ask, how can The Iceman Cometh help us to appreciate the works of the great composers? And likewise, how can the works of the great composers help us to appreciate The Iceman Cometh? So, beginning with one important theme in Eugene O'Neill's play, and that is the theme or the concept of lying to others and lying to oneself. Like the work of all the greatest composers, much of what is said by the characters in the play is a lie. Often, when the characters say one thing, they mean the opposite. And this is very similar to Eugene O'Neill's work, Long Day's Journey into Night. Like Long Day's Journey into Night, the characters lie to others in order to lie to themselves. The people work together to create an illusionary world, and they are complicit in their hiding from reality. Also, like Long Day's Journey into Night, the characters in The Iceman Cometh say one thing and then almost immediately take back what they've just said. And this, I think, in particular, helps us to appreciate the work of the great composers, because this is a tendency that we see in their music as well. As soon as something is said, it is usually taken back or contradicted. An important theme in the play, The Iceman Cometh, is that facing the truth is important, is critical, but is not so simple. Hickey exhorts all the characters, face the truth, give up on pipe dreams. Don't keep putting off things until tomorrow. Make the change in your life today. Be honest with yourselves. Face the truth. Indeed, as we see in the play very clearly, this is an important message, perhaps even a life-saving message, for all of the characters to hear. We see that their lives are actually quite pathetic due to their inability and their unwillingness to face reality. But what is so brilliant about the play is that it is not so simple. If we return back to the bulleted list of these exhortations, face the truth, give up on pipe dreams, don't keep putting off things until tomorrow, make the change in your life today, be honest with yourselves, face the truth. These are wonderful motivational aphorisms, wonderful motivational exhortations, things that we need to hear, things that are important to hear, things that make up the content of a very powerful and important and life-changing motivational speech. But the entire point of Eugene O'Neill's play is that, yes, that is true. But the flip side of it is that it is not so simple. People need to lie to themselves. If you ask too many questions, if you dig too deep into the truth, if you get too close to the truth, you will be driven insane. To actually confront the truth is to devolve into madness. And therefore, it might be better to lie to ourselves. It might be better to have the pipe dream because the pipe dream protects us. If you kill the pipe dream, you might force yourself into a corner where the only option is madness, nihilism, or death. And this highlights the main paradox in the play. The pipe dream will ruin your life, but at the same time, killing the pipe dream will destroy you. One example of this is Hickey at the very end of the play saying to the police, "I want to go to the chair. Do you suppose I give a damn about life now? I haven't got a pipe dream left." Similar to this paradox between truth and lies, Eugene O'Neill's play, The Iceman Cometh, shows us very clearly the maze of human experience. That is, the character's thoughts and motivations are a puzzle even to themselves, and the further they dig into it, the more tangled and irrational it becomes. One example of this is Hickey justifying the murder of his wife through a maze of different rationales. He loves his wife, but he hates his wife for loving him. For example, he says, I hated her for making me hate myself so much. He hates her because her love inspires his guilt, and therefore he loves her so much he must kill her. As he says, I felt such pity for her. In other words, his logic boils down to, I couldn't kill myself because she would have died of a broken heart. I couldn't have run away from her because she would have died of grief and humiliation. So to be kind to her, I had to kill her. These are obviously the words of someone who is completely insane. Another example of this twisted rationale is Hickey in Act 2. See, I don't feel any grief. I've got to feel glad for her sake because she's at peace. She's rid of me at last. You can imagine what it would be like to be married to a no-good drunken cheater like me. And there was no way out of it for her because she loved me. But now she's at peace. So why should I feel sad? She wouldn't want me to feel sad. All that Evelyn ever wanted out of life was to make me happy. And so as we are exposed to these twisted rationales, what Eugene O'Neill is showing us is that the kernel of the human being is a maze. And to confront the maze is to be driven insane. Again, this is something that is so brilliant about the play, is the fact that the more that we understand the characters, and likewise the more that the characters come to understand themselves, the more confused we become. And indeed, this is one of the characteristics of the music of the great composers, that the deeper we go, the more convoluted and complex we understand the maze of human experience to be. Likewise, like in the music of the composers, Eugene O'Neill shows us that we react to our own thoughts. One example of this is Hickey at the climax of the play, as he reaches the climax of his story and he says, here's what you can do with your pipe dream, you bitch. He reacts to what he says and says, no, wait, I couldn't have said that. I couldn't, and then recounting how he laughed, he says, no, I couldn't have laughed. This couldn't have been true. So he is recounting the story, but as he hears himself recounting the story, he reacts to his own recounting of it and recoils from himself and his own thoughts and his own experience. Again, driving him further into confusion as madness as he tries to understand it. He's trying to face the truth, but in facing the truth, it only drives him further into desperation, confusion, insanity. Another example of this is Harry's short birthday speech in Act 2, which is a powerful and perhaps the greatest example of this in hearing his own thoughts and recoiling from them, and then immediately emphasizing the opposite. Again, what is so powerful about his speech is that it starts one way, he hears himself saying one thing, he responds another way, and then when he hears himself responding in this way, responds the other way, and then eventually collapses in desperation and exhaustion and despondency, because the paradox, the contradiction within the self cannot be reconciled. And so to confront it, to see it, only leads one into further desperation and the need to retreat from it and to hide from it in the world of illusion. So again, the theme is that yes, we should confront the truth, but the truth is so paradoxical, we cannot comprehend it. If we see the truth, we will be driven mad because we cannot understand ourselves and our own twisted logic. To return to Hickey's twisted logic, as he says, sometimes when she kissed me, it was like she was doing it on purpose to humiliate me. Well, I saw how crazy and rotten that was of me, and I just hated myself more and more. Again, a passage that is a wonderful example of Eugene O'Neill's genius in the sense that not only does it reveal to us the twisted logic and the way that humans are able to rationalize or project or reverse their motivations onto other people. Her love to me is actually her trying to humiliate me, this kind of twisted, irrational rationalization. That alone would be a tremendous insight and a remarkable gem to put into the play. But Eugene O'Neill goes farther by saying, well, I saw how crazy and rotten that was of me. So he sees his own logic. He sees that his own psychology is twisted, and that only drives him more insane. So in trying to understand himself, it only makes things worse because he sees how irrational and paradoxical his thinking is. So again, we return to the moral of the play, if we can call it that we need to examine our thoughts and stop lying to ourselves. That's critical. But at the same time, actually examining our thoughts and how we really feel and what we really think only drives us deeper and deeper into the maze. The thoughts become the enemy and in turn lead to more alien and more dangerous thoughts. In some ways, this makes me think of comparing Eugene O'Neill to H.G. Lovecraft. Again, two writers that you wouldn't think have a lot in common. The horror in H.G. Lovecraft's stories revolve around the horror of seeing the uncanny. To see the cosmic is to encounter dangerous knowledge, is to evoke frenzy, the horror of the incomprehensible. The horror is to encounter that which we cannot understand. And in this way, Eugene O'Neill's play is very similar. We dive deeper into ourselves, into the psychology of others, and into our own psychology. But although this is necessary in order to move forward in life, at the same time, looking inside the self only uncovers dangerous knowledge, incomprehensible knowledge, and incomprehensible logic, which only makes us more desperate. The paradox of truth and lies, or truth and illusion, is probably the central paradox in the play, but there are other very important paradoxes as well. And one important paradox that is central as well is the paradox of love and hate. Paradoxically for Hickey, the unconditional love and forgiveness that his wife gives to him is the poison. The love is the poison. The dream is the poison. As we saw in the earlier quote, the more she loved me, the more that made me feel bad about myself for what I was doing to her. Or as he says, when she kissed me, she was trying to humiliate me. So the unconditional love that she shows him is for him the poison. Continuing on this point, Don and Hickey are parallel characters in the sense that they both hate the person that they love. They feel guilty about this to the point where the only answer is to destroy the other person and themselves. Hickey destroys his wife and himself. Don destroys his mother and himself. And so again, Eugene O'Neill leads us to the conclusion, yes, we need to be honest with how we really think and how we really feel. That is, to confront, recognize, and kill the pipe dream. But if you encounter the paradox of human existence within yourself, if you fully encounter the dangerous, incomprehensible knowledge, it will destroy you. Linking this to the music of the great composers, the music of the great composers all point to the same conclusion, that existence, human experience, is a paradox. There are always two sides to a given coin. Reconciling and comprehending, or at the very least, being able to be present with the paradox, is the challenge with which the great composers wrestle. The paradox between truth and illusion, the paradox between love and hate, that these are two sides of the same coin, the paradox between the dream and the poison. Another paradox in the play is the paradox between peace and death. Throughout the play, there is a search for peace or peace of mind, and how this peace of mind can perhaps only be found in death, or at best, the world of illusion. Hickey says, I know you're still terrified by death, but when you've made peace with yourself like I have, you won't give a damn. Again, this is a passage that in and of itself is such a wonderful paradox, in the sense that you've made peace with yourself, you found that peace, but what is the fruit of that peace? What is the result? Nihilism, death, destruction. Hickey found what he's calling peace by killing the pipe dream, being honest about who he was and what he was experiencing. But this so-called peace was nothing more than a death wish for himself and for his wife. He exclaimed, this peace is real. It's a fact. I know because I've got it. Hickey speaks of real peace, but the peace that occurs when you destroy the pipe dream, when you confront reality, we see in this play is nothing more than madness and self-destruction, and the destruction of those around you. In this sense, what he is calling peace, what he refers to as peace, is nothing more than a demonic inversion. Again, this links back to the role of truth and illusion and the paradoxical relationship that truth has to peace. Hickey comes in and he speaks the truth. He compels all the characters to confront the truth, genuinely confront the truth. And in this sense, the devil, here manifesting in the role of Hickey, is speaking the truth. Nothing that he says in terms of making the characters confronting themselves are lies. He's truly speaking the truth in terms of what they need to do to make progress in their lives. But in this sense, the devil is speaking the truth because the truth is what turns them all against each other. This is another brilliant element that we see in the play. Not only does confronting the truth destroy any peace of mind that they have in their drunken stupor, but it also destroys the harmony that they have amongst each other. They all end up fighting each other, both with their words and also physically. Is truth and honesty the best route to peace, to harmony, to community? And the answer is, that we see in the play, not necessarily. One might say it's important to tell the truth. It's important to be honest. This is the only way to find peace of mind within yourself, and also to have peace of mind and harmony and stability within a community. But Eugene O'Neill is showing us not necessarily. Similar to Long Day's Journey into Night, without lies, the self cannot exist. And similarly, without lies, community cannot exist. In this way, the characters need to be complicit with one another in the lies that they tell themselves and the lies that they tell each other. In some way, it's the telling of lies that keeps the peace. Another very interesting element in the play is the role of spirit. Hickey senses that there is something that connects him and Don. Perhaps it is the spirit, a preternatural darkness with its own agency, giving us a sense early on in the play that, yes, Hickey is himself a force of nature, but he himself is not in control. He is being controlled by a spirit. Hickey tells Don, "You've got to face the truth and then do what must be done for your own peace and for the happiness of all concerned." Very powerfully, these sound a lot like the words of the devil, or what the devil would say in that situation, especially since we know what Hickey is referring to. These are all inversions. Hickey says to Don, "You've got to face the truth." Again, a good thing, a positive thing, and then do what must be done for your own peace and happiness of all those concerned. These sound like good things. These sound like important things, taking the agency and the responsibility to face the truth and do what must be done for your own peace and the happiness of all concerned. These are important exhortations, but we know in this context that Hickey is referring that Don should kill himself. And so here the devil is twisting the truth in an inverted way. Don says of Hickey, "I'm scared of him. There's something not human about his grinning and kidding." Larry and Don in Act 2 describe Hickey as being more of a spirit, for example, the spirit of death, than a man. Don says, "Wait until Hickey gets through with you," in the sense that they're trapped in the bar with a supernatural spirit. But one of the elements that's so fascinating about the play is that, yes, Hickey is a force of nature and is the embodiment of a demonic spirit. But Hickey becomes the vehicle for that spirit. He is the manifestation of that spirit, but ultimately that spirit destroys him as well. So he's not the devil. He's being used by the devil. He's the vehicle of that demonic spirit, but ultimately that spirit destroys him as well, as we see at the end of the play. But this returns to something in this discussion that we've been talking about earlier, that even thinking of that spirit as demonic reveals an important paradox about the nature of humanity and human experience. The message of this spirit is to be honest. The message of this spirit is to better oneself, to take responsibility, to confront oneself, to make peace with oneself and with others by being honest, to admit one's thoughts and one's feelings to oneself. These all sound like good things, like noble things, like necessary things in moving forward in one's life. But paradoxically, that is, this desire for inner peace, the desire to be honest, to attempt to discard fantasy and self-delusion in order to take charge of one's life, these are actually the actions that destroy all of the characters. The more that they tried to confront themselves, the more that they tried to be honest, the more that they tried to take responsibility, the more they tried to confront themselves and be honest about what they think and feel, the more desperate they become. Only a genius like Eugene O'Neill can present us with such a comprehensive and seemingly unfathomable vision of the reality of human experience. And that is to say, yes, human experience is complex and you need to confront it, and you need to confront the inversions and the rationalizations within yourself. But the brilliant element to Eugene O'Neill's play is that doing this is actually going to lead you to the incomprehensible knowledge, the dangerous knowledge that is only going to lead you further into frenzy. Another connection worth talking about is Eugene O'Neill's play and the play Macbeth. That is, let's compare the characters of Hickey and Macbeth. Both of them, very notably, are nihilists. In the end, both of them conclude that nothing matters. But something that's very interesting is that they conclude this in almost opposite ways. What does Macbeth say? Well, in his famous speech, tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow, in this soliloquy, towards the end of the play, Macbeth realizes that tomorrow cannot be defeated or escaped, and that tomorrow erases everything, leads everything to a dusty death. So, in that sense, nothing matters. And indeed, there's a logic to this. Why does it matter? Why try to be king? Why strive when ultimately time is going to turn everything into dust anyway? Hickey reaches a similar conclusion, but using a very different logic. He says towards the end of the play, well, can't you appreciate what you've got? Can't you see? You're free now to be yourselves without having to feel remorse or guilt or lying to yourselves about reforming tomorrow. There is no tomorrow now. You're rid of it forever. You've killed it. You finally got the game of life licked. Again, very powerful, very brilliant writing in the sense that you've got the game of life licked by killing tomorrow. It's a complete paradox, a complete inversion in the sense you've got life licked by not having a tomorrow. Unlike Macbeth, Hickey believes that he can kill tomorrow. Again, Macbeth's entire revelation is that you can't beat tomorrow. Tomorrow always wins. There's always a tomorrow. And in that sense, time is always going to win and is always going to lead you and everybody else to a dusty death. But Hickey says you can kill tomorrow. But like Macbeth, the conclusion is the same. To lick the game of life means to conclude that life is, in Macbeth's words, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Or as Hickey says, you can be yourself without feeling remorse or guilt or lying to yourself because there is no tomorrow, because nothing matters, because almost there is no way of going forward in life. So why have remorse? What we encounter as the paradox and potential danger in both the play Macbeth and the play The Iceman Cometh is that by discerning the truth, by fully reconciling to yourself, the logical conclusion, perhaps, is nihilism. There's a logic to both what Hickey and Macbeth say, in the sense that for Macbeth, yes, time cannot be defeated. So his conclusion is, well, then therefore nothing matters. Hickey concludes there's no way to reconcile oneself to the paradox of existence, so you just have to conclude that nothing matters. And once you do that, then you can live with peace and without a sense of guilt or remorse because you've reconciled yourself to the fact that nothing matters, that there is no way of going forward. If we subscribe to this logic, both of these plays present a compelling argument that the only logical conclusion is nihilism. Finally, one other element of Eugene O'Neill's play that I want to discuss is the idea or the theme of too many questions. This is similar to the theme talked about earlier of the maze of human experience. The further you go, the more confused and the more desperate you'll get. Similarly, the more questions we ask, the more we understand the nature of reality. But that's actually a very dangerous game. Seeing both sides of the coin provides insight into the human experience. It's not as simple as telling the truth. There's a flip side to that, whereas the illusions, the pipe dreams, help to keep us alive, help to keep us moving forward even as we delude ourselves. It keeps us hoping, it keeps us wanting to encounter tomorrow rather than killing the pipe dream and then saying, well, there is no point in tomorrow because my dream is gone. This is an important element, an important insight into human nature that Eugene O'Neill presents to us. So seeing both sides of the coin provides a valuable insight into human experience. But that insight can also be dangerous, paralyzing, self-destructive. That is to say, as these characters begin to realize this, the paradox of their existence, the paradox of their inner experience, the paradox of their thoughts and their logic, the more dangerous, paralyzing, and self-destructive it becomes. And the character of Larry in the play says this explicitly. From Act 1, Larry says, I was condemned to see both sides of the question. And when you're damned that way, questions multiply until the end. They're all questions and no answers. And Larry's final lines in Act 4, to conclude the play, life is too much for me. I'll be a weak fool looking with pity at the two sides of everything until the day I die. And let that day come soon. In this way, the play itself is the ultimate paradox. It makes us ask questions. It forces us to see all of the multiple angles, to perceive the multiple perspectives between and within each character, to fully see the paradoxes to which there are no answers, no solutions, only more questions, more paradoxes. In doing this, we gain insight, but in doing this, the play curses us as well. We take the role of Larry, asking questions, seeing both sides of the coin, understanding that with each question, there's another question behind that. And with each perspective, there's another perspective behind that. This helps us to better understand the nature of human experience. But at the same time, that blessing is a curse. Because where does it lead us? Only to more questions and no answers.